welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Wrestling on Leon the King TV. Today I'm back talking about it again. Today, hold on, give me 1 second. So there we go. Okay, it's weird. All right, so today we back talking about it. Basically today is. Give me 1 quick second. All right, so we back today. I'm talking about the. There's this thing going around where you see a lot of comparisons, and I actually did a video on this before, talking about World Wrestling Entertainment, as we know of the WWE being compared to All Elite Wrestling, AEW. So these are my honest opinions of, if you were to do a fantasy booking event. I've been hearing it before, and it's Thursday. I'm talking about it tonight. This is Let's Talk Wrestling Fantasy Booking. So what I'm gonna do today is fantasy book a event or wrestling show, and today when we fantasy book the card, and I'm gonna give my opinions of who I think and how you should book a show and who should be on that card. And this is kind of my opinion. If WWE was to say, let's say Tony Khan met up with one of her sales from WWE and they said, hey, we're going to do an event, a premium live event pay-per-view where All Elite takes on WWE. So AEW is going to go one-on-one with WWE, and this is what the card will be like. And I didn't even write this. I wrote it out earlier, and I was kind of thinking, these are just good choices. This is what I would like to see. This is what I think will be good, and we're not really going in like in order, but it's kind of just random booking. And here we go. The first one on the card, one-on-one in a singles competition match. Finn Balor, aka Prince Devitt, taking on no other than Darby Allin. Finn Balor versus Darby Allin one-on-one singles match. Let's look beyond the fact that these are two iconic wrestlers with iconic looks, appearances, and gimmick. But let's look at the fact. I mean, past the fact they're both face painted wrestlers. They're both talented, very athletic competitors. They're very athletic competitors. Darby Allin is very athletic. He's a high flyer. This is a man who was the former TNT champion after losing to Samoa Joe a couple weeks ago with the title. on Wednesday Night Dynamite, and then we also saw Darby Allin be the kind of guy who would basically do a top rope move or a dive with his hands tied behind his back. Or this is the man who I forgot what he did. He would do a dive backwards sitting at you. Who knows? This is a man who ties his hands behind his back and does a top rope move and dives into the ring. Then you have, I mean, he came close to almost winning AEW. He constantly lost every shot and chance he got in the number one contenders match to basically get a match against the AEW World Champion for the AEW World Title. So you gotta look at that too. He's kind of got that main event caliber on AEW's roster. He's mentored by Sting, who's one of the greatest in-ring competitors of all time, and legend in wrestling and WWE Hall of Famer, former TNA World Champion. So Darby Allin is on the right track in AEW unless he gets that match against MJF this year, which I want to see. But anyway, on the WWE side of things, you have Finn Balor, aka Prince Devitt in the Indies. Finn Balor was a lot of people, and it's kind of touching, but a lot of people in world wrestling, a lot of WWE fans forget this is the man to first ever hold the Universal title in 2016 by defeating Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, and had to basically relinquish the title because of an injury in his match against Rollins at SummerSlam 2016 in the main event. And the next night on Raw, I think it was like the first night of the brand split. After the brand split on Raw, he had to kind of relinquish his Universal title back in 2016. People forget that. So this is the first ever Universal Champion in WWE history. When you look at his accomplishments, I believe he was a former Intercontinental Champion. He may have been a former United States. Yeah, he's a former United States champion. I think he's a former two-time, maybe two-time or three-time United States champion. But he is actually, I believe he's a former NXT champion. But that's something I can see. Give me a second here. Shit. I came back. So from 2014 to 2016, he was the NXT champion. 2016 and 2017, he was the Universal champion and relinquished the title due to a shoulder injury. 2018, 2019, he was the Intercontinental champion. He's returned to NXT in 2019 and 2021, and when he went back on the main roster in 2021, he was the United States champion. So yes, he's kind of held some titles and made some accomplishments. I still think the way they did him was just wrong. It was a little bogus because again, this is the man who basically was the first ever Universal Champion, defeating one of the best talents today, Rollins, and then never really got that main event push. Even though he did, let's not forget, he did have a match against Roman at Extreme Rules 2021 for the Universal title in the main event. It was the Demon King versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title. The Demon King gimmick. His alter ego gimmick. So yes, the Demon King took on Roman Reigns for the Universal title at Extreme Rules 2016 and lost to Roman. And that was a damn good match, I ain't gonna lie. That was one of the best matches of 2021. But I will say this. I put these two together because you look at the athleticism, You look at the character, the look, the face paint, the characteristics. You really, if anybody was to take on Balor from the AEW roster, to me, the first person would be that comes to mind would be Darby Allin, all the way. Here we go. And number two, the second one on my list, I was also thinking this would be good, but what if you did? And I'll say this: I am not a Hangman Adam Page fan at all. I'll say it again, and I don't care what any AEW fans think. I am not a Hangman Adam Page fan. I'm just not. Hangman Adam Page is not entertaining to me. He might have some in-ring skills, but he's not my favorite. Just gonna say that. But if someone was to take on Hangman Adam Page, you would put him against no other than Drew McIntyre. The reason why I think he should go against Drew is because you kind of look at them being both big guys, being on the roster, having the in-ring talent, having that edge to them. I think that when I kind of think of someone to face Drew McIntyre from AEW's roster, I would think it would be the first person to me would be Hangman Adam Page. Some people may disagree or come up with other choices, but I just think Drew versus Hangman could be a good match. There was a time where I didn't even like Drew. I didn't even fuck with Drew like that. But now when I watch in recent, when I was a big fan of Drew back in like 2010, '09, around that time. When he first came to WWE, they was kind of building him as supposed to be like this chosen one. He had main event caliber, but never really got that main event status, or made to become, or was never booked to be a main eventer on the company. And then he was the former Intercontinental Champion and had a run with the Intercontinental title on SmackDown years ago in 2010. So that's kind of what I liked. Really liked McIntyre. He went to, we saw him lift the company after the 3MB shit. We saw him very brought down to a mid card, low card status in WWE on the roster, and then we see him leave the company, go to like other promotions like TNA, where he actually was, I think, the former TNA World Champion, and he took on guys like Bobby Lashley at Bound for Glory one year. He actually had a good run in TNA, and then we saw him return to NXT, come back to WWE, joining the NXT roster, and then in 2018 got brought back to the main roster on Monday Night Raw. So I'm like, okay, I didn't care for him at the time, but then I started seeing how they kind of did a good job making him a main event guy, and finally giving him that push and realizing, for WWE to realize the type of talent they had back in 2010 years ago and what they have now is excellent. I mean, think about it like this. His story is very similar to a Cody Rhodes. Left the company, came back years later, and then became this big main event guy and this big name in wrestling. And a big name in the industry. So, yeah. If you think about it, I mean, his match at the Clash at the Castle Premium Live event this past September last year against Reigns for the Undisputed titles, that was a great match. I watched it. It was a decent match. That was also when we got the Solo Sikoa debut. So I don't know. That was just great. But I do think, I mean, to me, he's a better athlete than Hangman Adam Page. But I would like to see. I think if AEW and WWE was to do a premium live event or a crossover event, I think you would definitely do Hangman Page versus McIntyre. Now my third one. This is kind of one I booked. The third one on the card, and this is kind of one I thought would be, per se, like an interesting one. One has more main event caliber currently, and I think is a bigger name in wrestling right now. And it's my honest opinion, but I think he's a bigger name in wrestling now because of the heat that he has on him and the attention he's gotten from the wrestling industry and how good he is and how he kind of has tons of longevity and time to be brought into the world of being a main eventer in wrestling. And that would be MJF. And this match to me was kind of like, okay, this because of the similarity in somewhat their characters, somewhat. So I mean the other one has some good accomplishments. He is a two-time WWE champion. He the second time he had a very short ass run, which made no fucking sense. And then he did once main event WrestleMania against no other than Mr. Loyal Husky Respect. You can't see me, Cena, back in 2011 at WrestleMania 27. No other than Mike the Miz Mazan and the Miz. So this match, MJF versus the Miz, I only booked it because of the similarity of characters. To me, this is totally too. I mean, again, one has bigger heat currently because he's the new face of the new generation and new era in wrestling, and one has kind of been is almost close to being veteran status, but just never really got a had a serious push years ago, and to me that's the Miz. So MJF versus the Miz makes sense because of the characters. I will say this: Miz has in the industry and in WWE one of the best persons to ever, one of the best talent to ever cut a promo inside that ring. I'll say it again: Miz to me can cut a amazing, badass promo. I said it. He's good at promos. Watch his feuds with Cena. Watch his feuds with Punk. Watch his feuds with anybody you name in wrestling that he feuded with. The guy had great promos. It's hard to take him serious right now because they haven't repackaged him. And I've been saying it. They need to fucking repackage him. Miz needs a fucking repackage. When you repackage him, you'll do something great with him. So I think Miz needs a repackage. One of the things I also said was it would be awesome to see. Now talking about on the AEW side of things, Maxwell Jacob Friedman MJF is great at promos. This guy is the truth. This guy is the real deal. He has heat on him. He is the current All Elite Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. He's the current AEW World Champion, and you gotta give him props. He got that opportunity and won that title. He won that title months ago last year, and you have to give him credit and give him respect because he's one of the. The thing with AEW is they lack storylines. AEW just wants to book great matches, but not give you the sports entertainment side of things. So here's the only problem: AEW will not keep MJF for another 10 years because MJF is more of a sports entertainer. And when you see an MJF promo on AEW, it's entertaining, it's fun, it's amazing, it's great. But the problem, and it's written very good, and he does a very great job at it. But the problem is you don't have anyone to match that status that he has right now because he's the only one on that roster who's really a sports entertainer. There's no other sports entertainers in AEW's roster other than the former AEW tag team champs, the Acclaimed, which are great. So other than that, you don't really have a lot of sports entertainers. You have professional wrestlers, but you don't have sports entertainers like having an MJF. It feels like he's a very different breed on that roster than everybody else. And the company that does push professional wrestling as sports entertainment, WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE. So in my opinion, MJF 10 years from now will be in WWE, but he'll sign with WWE before 10 years comes. Before we even make it to 10 years, MJF is going to already be signed to WWE's roster. Whether he goes to NXT, which I don't think he needs to. He doesn't need to go to NXT. I say put him on the main roster. He's main event caliber. He's a big name in wrestling right now. He's like the face of wrestling. Don't even put him on NXT. Put him on either Raw or SmackDown. I don't care which brand he goes in that company, but you sign MJF to World Wrestling Entertainment. And that's my thought of that. When you kind of think about it, that could be an interesting match, seeing MJF versus Miz. We'll leave it at that. And if you also think about it in their looks and appearances, they're both guys who dress very well. They wear very good fashion. So anyway, that's the third match I believe on the card. The fourth match on the card, I want to kind of get to the women. I don't want to leave them out. So in the women's divisions for both WWE and AEW, this was the first women's match I thought about. And I will say this, I do believe Jade Cargill is a little bit overhyped. I believe that she's great. She has a great look. She has great in-ring talent. She's like 50, 60 some days undefeated with the TBS champion. So it's a great accomplishment. But as the current AEW TBS champion, so I would say this: this match, very two different in ring talents, different athletic ability. But I will say, to me, it would be awesome to kind of see if you had did something like an MJF first. I mean, Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. That was my fourth match on the card. Jade versus Bianca. I think that's interesting because I'm gonna say this: as good or as great Jade Cargill may be praised as, if Tony Khan can say she's the next Goldberg in wrestling right now, and I'm not even a Goldberg fan, fuck Goldberg, but I'll say this: if she is being booked or named or praised as the next Goldberg, if that's what the talk of in the wrestling world is, she's the next Goldberg, then I will say this: she does, because I don't. And again, I'm not a Goldberg fan, but I'll say this: she is definitely. She definitely does not have anything on Belair's in-ring talent. Bianca Belair is the current Raw Women's Champion. You're dealing with two current champions right now. Two queens who have both titles in wrestling and long undefeated streaks and with the titles right now in both promotions. So I would say Jade has nothing on Bianca. And that's only because when you look at the athleticism that Bianca has, and I've even said this: Bianca is the black female John Cena of the women's division in wrestling today. In wrestling, period. In the WWE right now, she's the black female John Cena, and I've said that actually. She's Cena. We look at, she's not good at promos as he is, because he was great at promos. If anybody in the wrestling, in WWE, or in wrestling period, in the entire wrestling industry, was great at promos, it was fucking John Cena. He was great at promos. Watch some of his older shit. Watch some of his shit now. The man was great at in-ring promos. Bianca lacks and is terrible in promos, and Jade Cargill's not great at promos either. But Bianca has that presence, that look, and she has that in-ring talent, that fast, that speed of being the next Cena. To me, she's Cena. She's the former SmackDown Women's Champion. She main evented WrestleMania 2 years ago. She is the current Raw Women's Champion, former 2021 Royal Rumble winner. Give her credit. I don't believe she never held the NXT Women's title, unfortunately, but she just never had that title. But out of all the titles, she never held the NXT Women's Championship. So, I mean, I know Jade Cargill's taller, bigger, a little more I mean, they're both muscular, but she's definitely a bigger woman than Jade Cargill. I think maybe size, or maybe height, I think is a little bit more the reason why she doesn't have that quick speed that Bianca Belair has. But again, Please, she does not have the in-ring talent that Bianca has. I am more entertained, to be honest, watching Belair than I am watching Cargill in that ring. A Belair match kind of has more of my attention than a Cargill match, and that's just the truth. And that's my honest opinion, whether you like it or not. And that's what I gotta say about that. But yeah, that was like my fourth match on the card. And here goes my fifth. And before I get to my fifth, I want to go back to the topic and say this. It is true what Lynch said months ago. WWE's women's division is the best women's division in all of wrestling. In all wrestling promotions right now, WWE has the greatest women's division, period. Period. AEW's women's division is the greatest women's division on earth in the wrestling promotion. Now, I would have had a different answer 10, 12, 13 years ago, because when we were getting 2-minute, 1-minute diva matches that made no fucking sense, we were getting great women's matches in TNA, in total non-stop action wrestling. Impact had was really the women's division before WWE, was the women's revolution before WWE's women's revolution. Watch it. Go back and watch it. Pull that shit up. If you think about it, TNA's women's division years ago was sick. I barely know most of the women on Impact's division now, but most of the women in TNA's division years ago, if you would have asked me this question years ago, it damn well wouldn't have been WWE. It would have been TNA. It would have been Impact all the way. And I'm gonna say this: my fifth match on the card, and this one makes a lot of sense. But I will go ahead and book it. Jon Moxley versus Roman Reigns. And here's the reason. Because we all know, wrestling fans, obviously, they were part of the same faction in WWE years ago. The Shield. It was Reigns, Ambrose, he was Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, the Shield. All three members of the Shield. We were all fine champions. Main event caliber. They were good in the ring. And then look at it now. WWE only has Reigns and Rollins. Moxley said, fuck this shit, I'm going to All Elite. I'm signing with All Elite. And signed that contract with AEW, and now wrestling with Tony Khan's promotion. So there we go. So now you got Moxley, a former AEW world champion, after losing the title to who? MJF. This is a former WWE champion. This is a former AEW world champion. This is the former one half of the former WWE tag team champions. He competed in Ring of Honor, I believe. He did some in-ring work with TNA, Impact. So yeah, man. This man is great. I mean, he's for a while. I was not a Moxley fan either. I loved Ambrose in WWE, and I'll tell you why. And some people may not agree, but I don't really care what you think. This is my opinion. Ambrose could have stayed in WWE. He never got the proper main event push. He never was properly given the WWE championship. So here's the thing. He didn't even get the money and the pay he wanted. He said, fuck this shit, I'm going All Elite. And he signed with him, and guess what? He became an AEW World Champion. I guess kind of got a properly better push over there. there as a main event guy and a title holder. But Dean Ambrose could have been Stone Cold, the next Stone Cold Steve Austin. Why do you say that? Because he was rebellious. He was badass. He didn't give a fuck what nobody thought. He would come in that ring. He would toss dudes out of the ring. He was, come on, he was Austin. If WWE at that time was TV 14, he was Austin. He would have been Austin. So that's why I say, think of it like this. The WWE lose a great talent? Yes, they did. They really did. But think of it this way. If you were to book Ambrose in the match against Reigns, it would get a lot of hype. Because think about it this way. WWE, we never did get an Ambrose and Reigns match one-on-one. Well, we probably got it, but we never got an actual feud between Reigns and Ambrose. We never got a one-on-one feud with Reigns and Ambrose. So the thing is, this match makes a lot of sense. It makes perfect sense. Two former Shield members, two Shield brothers, and you put them one-on-one in a match. If Moxley was the AEW World Champion, you'll put him against a man who's holding two of the main titles in WWE right now, which is Reigns currently. So Reigns and Moxley is kind of my pick of a main of kind of, it would be probably the main event on the card, but I don't know. This is just a match I think would be good on that card. And this is kind of my last pick, my last match on that card. This is one I kind of thought over. This is one that I have been thinking of. This is one that makes more sense to me. I mean, a lot of sense to me of what they should do. And this could be another main event. This could probably be the main event of that event if they were to ever do it. And this is the main event. These are two very athletic in-ring competitors. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Bobby Lashley, the former United States champion, the former TNA World Heavyweight champion, the former ECW champion. Y'all forget, man. Former MMA fighter. Come on, man. This is the man who defeated Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 2 years ago for the WWE Championship. This is the man who should have a WWE title around his waist right now. He should have a WWE title on his shoulder right now. This is the man you push. Bobby Lashley. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Lashley. Now, Hobbs versus Lashley is a good booking. You look at size, you look at agility, you look at in-ring athleticism, you look at the talent, you look at everything. Unfortunately, Hobbs does not have those many accomplishments yet as a Bobby Lashley. I've said this, Lashley is one of the most underrated talents in all of wrestling. In all of wrestling, he's one of the most big name underrated talents in wrestling. He's one of the most underrated people in WWE. His name never gets brought up for anything, and he's close to being veteran status. So I look at it like this: he's from that era, kind of when I was watching back years ago, and it's like he's big right now. Even as I currently watch, he's huge. So I don't know. I don't know who would be booked to win that match, but I would go ahead and say Lashley. And this could be a great match. Seeing that kind of athleticism, seeing two guys like that build, that structure, that physique, one on one against each other. I think it'd be a great match. And I do see Powerhouse Hobbs signing with WWE in another 10 years. So that is the card. That is the fantasy booking for AEW versus WWE. If they ever do a pay-per-view or a premium live event, this is the crossover match that I would get. These are the matches I want to see. This is what I would like to see. And I am doing a part two of fantasy booking where we continue to book WWE versus AEW because there's so many other matches we could think of. And so many other names on both of each rosters that are great talent that we would love to see on a card and we would love to see booked against each other in a one-on-one competition. So this is a match that will be very good. The last one I wanted to say for the tag team divisions on both rosters, think about the Usos versus the Acclaimed. I'm not even gonna say FTR. Fuck FTR. I'm going with Usos versus the Acclaimed. That's on next time's episode, man. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Whatever you do, please hit that subscribe button and come to the channel. Join the channel, join the movement. This is Leon the King TV. We taking it to new heights, new levels. And thanks for watching today's episode of Let's Talk Wrestling Fantasy Booking on Leon the King TV. It's your host, and I'm out.